Hello. Well, welcome.
We have issues. I always interrupt you, man. I always do it.
Never interrupt me again, Steven. We have issues. Both of us, I guess. So I have to interrupt you next. You also have issues.
I'm Steven.
I'm Anthony. And this is episode 4. We have issues.
Wow, 4.
Yeah, we made it.
We've made it to 4.
Yeah, I feel like
it means it's looking good, right?
It's looking so majestic compared to the first episode.
It's been conditioned today, so
there it is. Oh, it shows. It's lovely.
Beard's trimmed up too, so it looks a little better.
I'm so jealous. You have this whole like awesome Thor thing going on. I can't pull on.
I know. I need to lose like 50 pounds and then I got it. I'm like more like
or gain 50 pounds.
Those are the options I got.
Those are the Thor options. You're perfect, medium Thor.
I'm like Goldilocks, completely dissatisfied with every version of Thor I could be.
Yep, pretty much. I don't know what I have. I have like short hair, Black Widow. I don't know.
You got Tony Stark going. You know that. You've
known
this.
I can grow this in. You grow this in on Tony Stark.
We could be like the best B-rated Avengers ever if we want to do. I mean,
we can be B+. We can do some B+ work. All right, so last week we were talking about not only getting the characters done, but kind of working more on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You showed me some huge progress with the cover.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about it so far?
It's looking good. The flats are done. I was doing some of the whites. I actually ordered. It's not like a high-end drawing pad or anything like that, but enough so that way I don't have to use a mouse because what I ended up having to do with the whites is since I have a mouse, I just take a brush tool and I like paint the whites on hard, and then I take the smudge tool and then I can get kind of the paintbrush effect by using the smudge tool with the mouse.
Right. But
once I have the actual pad, I'll be able to actually, paint with the pad and not have to use the smudge tool as much.
Right. So this graphic novel that we're making, you're doing fully as far as the pencil or pencil and ink or what you're doing is all on paper, and then we're coloring it digitally, right?
Yeah, that's the plan. So all the shading, I think are darks, because adding any darks to the pencils is going to look weird. So I think basically we'll capture most of the shading through the pencil,
right? And
then I'll add the whites for light, basically. So I think it should be pretty simple to color. It'll be mostly flats.
Yeah.
Once you get the flats on, then any glow effects you want to add or whatever we can do on top of that. But then we'll just do the whites, and that should be it. The darkness of the pencil should basically shade the flat.
So our plan is you do the pencils, I'll do the flats, and then I'll throw them back to you, and you'll do the whites and
the balloons, maybe the word balloons.
Maybe we'll work on that too, because I know the program I use, Clip Studio Paint, has a pretty good setup, and I've been learning it really well for my Bullet and the Beast project.
That's awesome. I gotta get because like when put it over there.
I'll put it.
That's where it's gonna be after it's edit hung. If it's on me,
it's gonna be near Steven on that.
It's gonna be like in this.
It's funny. I've been trying to learn about lettering, and because I feel like it's one of those thankless arts in comic books because it's the thing that we look at the most but appreciate the least, I think.
Well, I think people don't really like understand like balloonists or whatever they're called, like letterers. Letterers. Like they had to decide what pieces of the artwork to cover up too. I mean, like I remember when I was putting balloons over my own art when we did absentees. It's like you really have to get choosy. I mean, sometimes it's nice. It's like, oh, I didn't really draw that guy in the background that well. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the balloon over this guy's face. He never existed. But yeah, like there's an art in it for sure. Like it's not as easy as it looks.
No, it's not. I mean, I definitely took it for granted. I was taking like the general sizes for granted for one, and then of course like there's a composition to the letters that I don't like. You imagine it's self-explanatory to just sort of stack things in a way that fits the balloon, but some sentences are really strange to structure in that way. And
because I remember when I was lettering absentees, like. It's like, I don't want to space that word there.
Yeah.
But I don't really have much of a choice.
Yeah.
The sentence is going to read very weird, but I kind of have to position it like this way because of the artwork. So, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, it's a lot trickier and it's a lot more complicated than it looks, for sure. Yeah.
So you're doing it. I get it. I don't. Have you been watching anything lately that's new, or just the
Let's
opposite?
see. What have I mean, obviously, I finally did get into Community.
Cool.
I've watched a majority of it. I mean, but it's one of the we basically because it's always been. I mean, our generation just put The Office on and fall asleep. So I've been doing that with Community. So I'll like. And what's unfortunate is it'll just start spamming it, or Tina will watch it without me. So I have the gist of Community. I just need to keep rewatching it. Besides Community, though, no. Like, for example, I haven't watched The Boys. I know that's an awesome show, but
oh good. I just caught up with it again last night. Like,
you ready for the big one though? Never seen a single episode of Stranger Things.
Really? Not a single?
Episode. Tina doesn't want to watch it because she says it's too scary.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, and then the only time I'd be able to watch it is if like the kids are in bed.
Yeah.
Tina's not home. You know, not that she would deny me watching it, but you know, if she's home, I'm gonna hang out with her.
I don't know. Like I've really mixed emotions about Stranger Things in general. I love it. First of all, like I'm not a Duffer Brother hater. I kind of when I watch it. This is like I know you haven't seen it at all, so like without spoiling it, I'm gonna try to just explain what I think it is in general. It's basically the reality from which all of our pop culture like directors and artists and the people that we love, the reality from which they pluck their ideas is what Stranger Things is trying to be as a whole. So if you imagine like but of course they're ripping off all those things, but as a huge masterpiece of like realities converging, it seems like they are just plucking all these little things and making this cornucopia of like pastiche like 80 of the 80s, you know. So it's fun. So you get everything. You get like Alien references, you get Terminator references, you get everything in there. So it's fun, but it's also a little exhausting at times. And I think that bothers some people. I love it, honestly. I don't really care. I just think it's fun.
I'm sure it's something I would love more than anything because it seems like it's right up my alley. It's just I'll get to it eventually.
Yeah.
You know it was an awesome show that I actually did watch partly while it was live. I did that with Game of Thrones. I got into it at like season 5 or 6. And you were the same. I think you got into it like shortly after I got into it.
I was very reluctant to get into Game of Thrones.
Yeah, and it was that's unfortunate because it was so good the first 4 seasons.
Well, I was reluctant for the same reason that the boy who plays Joffrey is amazing. You know, like he made me hate him so much that I was just like, I don't think I can sit through this anymore. I am sick. I want this child to die, and that makes me feel bad about me. You know, like so.
I know. You know what's funny is people never like appreciate those actors that do that either.
They're so good. Is the thing.
They're so good.
And thank God that they're not middle managers, because you know how good they'd be at making your life stuff. So Joffrey and what was the kid's name in Harry Potter?
Basically the same character, but not as evil.
Malfoy. So there's Malfoy in Harry Potter. There's that, you know.
God, he was such a punk.
He was.
He's such a punk, but you love it. Like he's a good actor. That's the thing. Like he's such a punk.
Those little blonde punks, but yeah, I don't like. They were so good at making you hate that character, and I was watching the first season, and just constantly feeling like he was never going to go away. I was like, you know, like it felt like he was the series protagonist. I'd never read the books or anything, or antagonist rather. So I'd never read the books, and I was just like, I don't think I can do this anymore.
This boy king is gonna ruin my life.
Yeah, it wasn't happening as much in the beginning. In the beginning, it was mostly Joffrey, and then I became just annoyed by what they were focusing on. So I stopped watching it for a bit. And then like a few people I trusted promised me that it was worth watching because it hadn't ended yet. But yeah, so I watched it and I got really into it, just like everyone else. I was really like, you know the kind of thing we do when we watch TV shows and the theme song starts and we have to do some sort of silly ritualistic dance. That's what I do. And
the Dexter dance, I remember that too.
I'll never, Oh yeah, there's a True Blood one, a Dexter.
The True Blood dance was the good one though.
Yeah.
We would all just one of us would come in, and then the other one would come in, and then by the time the full band was in, we're all just doing a little arm dance.
Yeah, I love it. I love
True Blood was another show. Speaking of vampires, True Blood was a show. But seriously,
the exact moment I was out of True Blood was Werepanther.
Pixies kind of got me too, but Werepanther is pretty bad.
Okay, so I know we're all over the place already, but since we're talking about True Blood for a second, I would have been on board with it, but in a reality where there's a shapeshifter and he could turn into basically any animal he sees, right? And he turns into a fly, and he turns into a dog.
Like a lame dog too.
Yeah,
it was like a beagle or something, if I remember.
It's just, I mean, sorry, dog lovers. I also like dogs, but
I mean, beagles are cute. I get it, but if you can shapeshift into any animal, why would you shapeshift into a beagle?
That's all. Like, if right now, like Mr. Mixel like or whatever, like someone pops up and it's just like, boom, you know, Shazam, you can turn into any animal. I'd be like, Steven, I'm about to walk the earth like Cain, discovering all animals. I'll be back in a year, maybe 2. And I'll be the coolest animal.
I'm going to learn these forms.
Not only am I going to learn these forms, I'm going to learn to amalgamate these forms so I can be like a crazy griffin, like spider monster. And it's going to be amazing. And so, I don't know, it just seemed, like, I like when things take fantastical ideas and kind of ground them a little bit, but not when they're given to boring characters or characters who do boring things with them. I don't think grounded is the same as boring, and I think that's kind of how I personally started feeling. And there were things that were definitely saving that, like the show. Like Lafayette was awesome.
Lafayette is probably the best part about True Blood.
100%. But True Blood was fun. It just had for me, too many flaws. Like, it was just something that I couldn't keep getting into.
The first couple seasons, like the flaws weren't like you were saying, they weren't that bad. Like, you could get past them. There was a lot of like vampire lore with Godric and the age of these vampires, and showing like Eric was a or a Viking and all these cool things. And then they just like, you know, main character's a pixie. There's werepanther.
I was gonna say, I know there are people out there who are going to yell and say, you know, you have to appreciate it that of course she had all these random characters coming towards her, or around her, because she was something like a magnet for that sort of, you know, supernatural entity, you know, but it just wasn't what we were hoping for, and I know that's not fair to the creators. It's not really, you know, the same thing with our books. You know, judging something based on what your hope or expectation isn't necessarily the same as judging it based on what the creator's expectation is. And that's always really tricky to begin with. So sorry, True Blood and True Blood fans, but it just wasn't for me.
Yeah. I feel like we're pretty kind on that front, though. I think that's the problem. That's like I want to give that to you. I want to say like what you're saying is true. But you and I will accept almost anything.
Yeah, you're true. You're right. I will watch all of anything.
We watch Dragon Ball Evolution, okay? It's not
I sat through all that at least twice.
It's not like we just refuse to give it a chance. I mean, like,
yeah,
I would almost say it's a problem. Like what we'll do.
I think we have Vampire Show Stockholm Syndrome is what happened.
Yeah, we just want it to be good so bad.
Well, you say like you watch The Office and stuff a lot, you know, like you have all these DVDs and we have all these streaming sites and stuff. Don't you find it so funny these days that you can hover over a movie that you know you love, but you're just like, nah, not today, buddy.
It's gonna ignore you.
It's gonna ignore you like you're not one of my favorite memories. You know, like I'm gonna ignore you like you weren't like the best part of being 17 or whatever. Yeah. You know, like
I've been doing that with like Jane Silent Bob.
So you still haven't watched the reboot?
No, I actually still haven't watched the reboot, and that's on Prime also, right? I have that.
Yeah, that's on Prime for my Prime feed, whatever you pay for Prime. But
Amazon, you're so good at what you do. I hate it because you're so evil, but damn, you're awesome too.
Shut up and take my soul. I saw the Jane Silent Bob reboot in the theater. Like I paid the advance. That was one of the last movies I saw in the theater, honestly. Like it's been since before COVID, you know. I enjoyed it. I think there was only one scene that I didn't really think worked, and it was I don't want to spoil anything, but it was basically he was trying to make a reference to the Glenn Ross, and it just wasn't for me. But I'm only mentioning that because I just enjoyed the rest of it. Honestly, I just thought it was fun. I'm also just part of the cult of Kevin Smith. Like the VOS universe is just in my blood. I watch his movies and I kind of scoff at it from my like cinema fan side of me, where I'm just like I feel like a movie snob sometimes. And I'm like, okay, Kevin Smith's not the best director, and sometimes his writing is a little whatever. But I love the man so much. I love Kevin Smith as a person. Like I think
he's awesome.
I do. I love that man. I think he's so great, and he seems, although he's obviously like a big character and stuff, he seems like a really down to earth and humble person. He's kind of just always he seems, at least from all the commentaries I've listened to from all the movies and every, he's either the best person at cultivating just, his persona and pretending he's this guy forever, or he's just always really authentic. I'm not sure if there's a difference.
Yeah. At that point, you've tricked yourself, right? I mean,
you are that guy, right? Like, you created an avatar of, Kevin Smith. So that's what Kevin Smith is to me. So I don't know if that's real, but or any less authentic than Robert Downey Jr. or whoever else. I don't know. But I love that man, and I think you should watch it. I mean, at some point, if you want to.
I definitely will. Like I said, we have issues. I mean, finding time to do anything even of value, then just to veg out, feels like you're just wasting. It's tough.
It really, it's really hard. I think just managing the for little Parmesan cheese crumbles of time that we get to flavor our days. I mean, that's how it feels. It doesn't feel like I get a slice, everyone.
Yeah.
I feel like when I was younger, I had a full pizza. I could just sit and just be like, I'm writing, I'm drawing, I'm doing whatever I want. These days, I literally do feel like it's just like a little shake on top of my day where I'm like, okay, I will outline this the best I can before I have to do something. I have to watch something, just absorb or consume in some way that's.
I literally just think back to absentees. I'm like, I don't have time to do this. And all I was doing was working a job and being in a relationship. I didn't have kids. Kids is crazy. I'm working so much harder to do what we're trying to do now.
Right.
And it's like, man, if I would have just been a little bit hungrier then.
Right. But I think about that all the time. Of course, we can only, there was that, Roosevelt quote, where it's like, do what you can where you are with what you have. And, that's, and what we have are kids. I also have, the relationship situation going on, which, is new, which there are issues. But
always.
No, so I have the relationship and the children and working and trying to not die at the same time, So. Yeah, this week in particular, I got my stuff done, by the way. I completely outlined the whole thing, and I wrote, since our idea is based around memories and songs that are going to have to do something with that memory, I created the 4 definite memories that we're going to use in the comic, Awesome. So then the rest of it will just be writing it around there and choosing for sure which one comes, in which order I'm going to put the memories. I'm pretty sure I know already, but I'm going to play with it a little, and then I'm going to start thumbnailing, which I wanted to ask you about. So what do you think about the way we collaborate usually? Is it too much for you? Am I a jerk? I can't tell.
I feel like what happens to me is I get so excited when I'm drawing something that I'll go way too far past the roughing stage and then show you something after without getting any consensus on what you're actually looking for. And then it creates this weird situation where you have to tell me that looks good, but I need it to look like this. So I think if you thumbnail, it'll be fine.
Right.
I see what your vision is.
Like scavengers.
Yeah.
Like scavengers. Okay. Yeah, I think that's probably good. And I just want you to feel like you also have freedom in the page, because I think that's important for drawing, especially. I think for you, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but from what I know of you, it seems like if you're having fun drawing something, you get really into it, you're way more likely to get it done, for sure. And it's always...
I plan on doing my best because of how simple the concept is for this. I plan on making each page as much of an art piece as I can. So that's my plan going into this, is trying to create almost as if the page itself is the art, and having a center frame of reference in each page where it's gonna. That's my goal. We'll see how well that plays out. Obviously, it's not gonna play out, but that's my goal. So after you send me thumbnails, I'll probably send a rough thumbnail back if I have any opinions on ways I can adjust it, and then we'll go from there. Because I think for this, since we're going with the story's simpler, we do have a mystical element, but I do want to really try to capture with off panel, what we've done in the past with scavengers, things like that, where there's a lot of off panel catching and things like that. I want to do a lot of crazy things going on, so that way it feels as crazy as it is.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think the way I like to write the comics is I like to at the very least know what absolute action has to happen on a page and what absolute dialogue starts and stops the page, basically. So that's why, like, you know, I'll thumbnail specifically, but as long as those actions are on that page in that way,
Somewhere,
you know, you can basically explore, you know, the different angles and whatever you'd like, you know. So I don't want to micromanage the direction physically of where the, you know, where the artistic camera has to be, you know. I will in the initial draft, in the initial thumbs, I'll show you, I'll just say, you know, I'll kind of like storyboard basically what I normally do. And then if you have any, you know, any improvements that you want to make, you just throw them on and send it to me as a rough and we'll figure that out, right?
For sure, yeah.
So, what else did I want to ask you? So did anything else get in the way this week? Was it just the standard kid stuff?
The standard, but I did find a good chunk of time as you'll be able to show whenever you edit, like to color and get things going on that cover.
Oh, you mean this?
That cover, in case the camera pans to me because of me speaking.
Yes, that cover. We're gonna play with this forever.
you gotta like put my finger over it.
Over it,
but over these fingers though.
You give me more words, Steven. I'm not gonna do this. It's gonna be like Birdemic. You ever seen Birdemic, by the way?
I have not seen Birdemic.
Okay. So there's this movie called Birdemic. Have you heard of it? Have I talked to you about this at all?
You may have. Like, once again, memory. Something will trigger if you have. I'm
just so happy because someone on Twitter. I asked recently on my Twitter, what movie is so sacred that it should never be remade under any circumstance? That's what I asked on my Twitter. And a lot of people responded, like so many. And of course, like the most popular one, I believe, was The Princess Bride. And I believe that. Have you seen Princess Bride?
Of course. The movie's awesome. I ruined it for Tina. But yeah.
Why have you never seen Princess Bride, Steven?
Are you editing me out? Of course I've seen Princess Bride. I was going to lose my mind here. How dare you? You almost ended our friendship just now. Coming over.
Do you remember when Tina and I used to pretend like we didn't understand what we were talking about? We just
very early on, Josh would be ashamed to admit this, but very early on, we used to get Josh with it all the time. Like he learned eventually, but man, it was so good. Like
what did he learn? What do you mean? So yeah, we used to do that all the time, and it was so good. But it's one of those things that if you do it around someone like who isn't as familiar with what we're doing, they either think we're complete morons, or they think they're crazy. It's just, I don't know. But it was,
when they think you're a moron, though, it's the better, because then they like start speaking like, you know, the condescending, like, yeah, and then you just like, what do you mean though? And they go on this huge explanation, like, yeah, but like, how does that work? And they're just, remember that guy that Chelsea was dating a long time ago? Steven.
Yes.
He was always trying to sell us on stuff as if we weren't completely aware of his shenanigans.
Yes. He was one of those guys where he had the bracelet that would make you like balance. He's like, look, it'll keep your balance. Look. And it was
so bad. But yeah, we used to do that to him often. Like, he would just hook, line, and sinker.
Okay, so I recently on Twitter posted this thing about movies that should never be made, and someone wrote Birds, Alfred Hitchcock's Birds, and I wrote, are you sure? Because then we'd never have Birdemic. Birdemic was I feel weird making fun of it because it's very similar to The Room in that it was someone's serious masterpiece. Like, it was someone's soul coming onto screen, trying their best to present their vision to us. It was someone's art, but it was so funny, Steven. It's so funny. I will post. I'm at the very least going to get a couple screenshots and post it up here. So this man made this movie for very little money. It's acid peeing birds attacking people who inexplicably find guns everywhere, never run out of bullets. And the birds are always the same 2 or 3 animations where they're just very stiff, floating in the air, just as if I superimpose it right here. And they basically just move their wings like this.
Like 2-frame animation?
2-frame animation. The most, like, he could have just recorded real birds in the air and it would have been scarier than these 2-frame animated birds. So but it's just so good. And I haven't watched it in a while. I watched part of it with my girlfriend, my new girlfriend, whom I talked about previously in the podcast, because we were going to watch From Dusk Till Dawn together. I tied that together with a bow.
Very smoothly, I might add.
I made that happen.
Considering how lost we got there for a second, yeah.
So previously on We Have Issues, Anthony discussed how excited he was, how insanely joyful his whole soul had become.
I don't think I've ever seen your heart so full.
You know what? You made the joke in the first episode that every time you draw me, I look sad, like in real life. And that's mostly true, with the exception of our last episode and every moment of my life after finding out that my brand new girlfriend had never seen From Dusk Till Dawn. Now,
which is so exciting.
It's so exciting. The reason it's exciting is, with no spoilers, you go into From Dusk Till Dawn. Now, we've spoiled the movie, and that's okay because that's what we're doing here. But for that second, I had a perfect unicorn, an amazing person who had never seen a movie that starts off as a bank robber movie. It's a heist movie. These two criminals are on the run. The movie's following them. Villains are the protagonists. It's super interesting. Never seen anything like this. They're murdering people. They're trying to escape to Mexico. It gets crazy. They kidnap this family. Almost 40 minutes into the movie. It's nuts. It's this really interesting movie. What's going to happen with this family? All this tense stuff's going on. And then, vampires, Steven. Glorious vampires.
Glorious vampires. Cheech is a vampire. Everybody's a vampire.
KMB effects, Greg Nicotero. I mean, you get Tom Savini with the sex machine, with the special weapon in his crotch. Like, it was amazing. It was amazing, Steven. So much fun. But then, Steven, We Have Issues. She Googled it. After all of my...
You Googled it after I specifically asked you not to?
Steven, I can't tell you how legitimately upset I was.
I've seen that look. I've caused that look. But I'm thankful I wasn't the one that caused it that particular time. But, like, I know that look. I know that pain.
Like, she came over, and it was, and the worst, Steven, the worst situation was the credits were rolling. It was like the whole best scene, like the whole awesome opening of the movie. They boom, the whole, the Benny's, Benny's World, the beer explodes. It's amazing. Like, they're walking away, and Tarantino has the hole in his hand. It's so cool. Credits start rolling, and she looks at me and she says, I looked it up a little.
Oh, you looked it up a lot.
You looked it up a lot. Like, but that's the thing. It's not okay. In her defense, because I hate it, but in her defense, you can't look up that movie without finding out immediately.
The first factoid they're gonna give you. That's the first little snippet. Everyone wants to ruin that for everybody. Everybody does.
That's what made it so perfect. I was so excited. Anyway, so she saw that look that you're talking about just wash over me. And I was so disappointed. I almost couldn't finish the movie at first. I'm not kidding. Like, I did the thing where I was like, I started looking at my phone to see how much longer the movie was, and the answer was like an hour and a half because it was the beginning of the movie. I was just so upset. I was unfairly upset. I don't know, like, I've always had, like, communication issues with people, but, like, that was one of those things where I was like, I know specifically that I asked you for a specific reason not to do this thing, and I was so excited about it, and then it happened.
So I Googled it a little bit.
I Googled it a little, but so yeah. So I mean, we've gotten over it.
When it happened, I'm pretty sure I was having like a restless night of sleep. I think I felt it. I think I felt the disturbance in the force. Like, it was like Anakin killing younglings all over again.
Oh my gosh, I remember that so clearly.
If you ever look at Ewan McGregor's face when he says it, he can't even keep it together. He's like, Anakin killed younglings. Like, I was gonna say younglings. Younglings.
Yeah, I always thought that was funny. But anyway, like there was one morning in particular that I ended up passing out at Steven's house, and when I woke up, Steven was standing over me with a plastic lightsaber and just perfectly just let it go.
It just slide out. Yep.
It was hilarious.
We had just watched Revenge of the... Was it Revenge of the Sith that kills all the kids? Or was it the second one? I don't remember. But anyways.
Right.
Oh, man, though. The level of disappointment.
Yeah, you know.
I'm not going to harp on it.
I know. I talked to her about it, and she did the thing initially where she was just kind of, she was saying, she didn't know that I didn't want her to look it up. And of course, I'm personally really bad in that particular situation. Like if I know something for sure, if I have a really good memory in general, and if I know something for sure and someone doesn't have the same memory, there's no way to check that unless it's a text or a video. If you have something, there's no way to check. But I just had to stop for a second and tell her, just say, well, I did warn you because I get really excited about this, and I understand that you didn't recognize how excited because it's stupid, because it makes no sense for anyone to feel the things that I feel sometimes. However, it was real. That excitement, that enthusiasm was there, and you murdered it, and I feel like you should apologize now. No, I'm kidding. It wasn't like that. Like that wasn't a bad conversation. I've definitely had some weird, rough communications in the past with situations like that. One of which I will tell right now because it's hilarious. Actually, okay, I will tell you. Have I ever told you about the time where I was dating this girl and she asked me the first time I ever kissed someone?
Tell the story further. It's possible. My memory works very weird.
Okay, hang on. So, audience, what Steven just did is my favorite thing that any human can ever do. He showed humility and uncertainty. Like, even though he doesn't remember, he didn't have an unwavering belief that I did not tell him. No, my friends. This person I was dating, however. So one day we're hanging out just like normal, and she asked when was the first time you ever kissed someone? And so I was like, oh, I have a story about this. It's pretty funny. Everyone has a, first kiss story. It's kind of weird, So I told her, and mine was I was young, and I went over to a friend's house, and it was my friend and his sister. And there was a show called Singled Out that came out at that time. It was with like Jenny McCarthy or Carmen Electra. And basically what would happen is a girl would sit in the front. She would sit in front, and there would be a bunch of guys on their way to the girl. And so the girl would ask questions and basically hold up an answer. So she'd be like, do you prefer sweet or salty? And so she'd hold up her answer, and whoever matched with her would take a step forward. And whoever eventually matched with her the most would reach her. And they'd either hug or kiss, but they'd go on a date or something. So like that was the premise of the show. I go over to my friend's house, right? And it's my friend and his sister. And this was going to be really weird for all of us. No one had a good situation here. Because she went in the front, and we were like, she was like, let's play that Singled Out game. I'll ask questions, and then whichever one of you gets it right, we'll move forward.
The brother loses in all scenarios. She loses in half of the scenarios. You are just, it's pure win for you. Either you get to kiss her or nothing happens.
It was okay.
Why did your friend agree to play?
Like, that's what I don't know. I thought it was hilarious. I was just like, I don't understand. I don't think he wanted to kiss his sister. I feel like he was sweating because I didn't have as much in common with his sister as clearly he did.
Because he grew up with her.
They like the same foods. They see all the same movies, Steven. It was like fifth grade.
What if it was just like some sort of weird way to flex their incest on you? They're just like
I just imagine as I'm answering more questions, they're both just really disappointed, just like, no, get it wrong. You can't possibly like it for two.
We want this to happen legally. So these rules make it legal.
So I win, and like we do this silly fifth grader half lip kiss, but it totally counts as just one of those like we touch lip, like, oh, it was crazy, so weird, first kiss. So I tell that story, joke about the incest and stuff, all that stuff with this girl that I'm dating, right? I go through the whole thing, basically. I mean, she doesn't make the same jokes you do. That's why she's not my best friend right now.
Maybe however, you and her would be making a comic if she was pretty cool.
That's very true, Stephen. So literally, I'm not kidding. This isn't an exaggeration. I promise you. I swear to you. The next day, I went over her house. We're hanging out listening to music. She had the lo-fi hip hop thing on. We're like talking and stuff. And she asks me, hey, what was your first kiss? Now here's the thing. She wasn't doing the thing that we did. You know the thing that we did that we just talked about where you make it. So I started laughing. I was like, ha, 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 ha. Like she was doing the thing, but she didn't know about the thing, Stephen. She hadn't seen this.
She wasn't doing the thing. She was doing this thing.
She was doing this.
He was trying to control you.
So Stephen, so I say, I do the thing, you know the thing that we would do where I go, I'm pretty sure.
Like, we're being nice, basically.
Yeah. So
we don't want to say, yo, I told you this yesterday, you jag. No, we're like, so wait, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, that I think I did tell you this story yesterday, is how I would word it.
It's exactly what happened. So I tried my best to just kind of like slide that, like, let me get you to rethink this a little bit with some humility. Like, I'm trying really hard to, like, you know, her response was, no, you didn't.
That straight face.
Stephen, it was just.
No. No, you didn't.
There's nothing there, Stephen. Soulless eyes look back at me.
It's just like straight. Tell it again. How can I tell it again? That means you've heard it before. No. Say it.
So here's the thing, Stephen. So this is what happens with me and like why I have these like deep communication issues, I guess. So I say, okay, I try to be cool. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to tell you as best I can the same story in the same way. And I'm going to be cool about it. So I stood up and I was like, there's this show called Singled Out. Blah, blah, blah. So I stand up and I'm like, and I was doing this and I said sweet. And I said Ace Ventura 2 when nature calls. And I said, you know, so I get all the way. I get to the end of she says nothing. I get to the end of the story. I'm like dancing around like an idiot. The end of the story I go, and then we kissed like half lip thing. And she goes, oh yeah, you did tell me that.
That's the part that triggers the memory.
The kiss. The fact that I kissed someone.
She couldn't have heard the Ace Ventura or the incest jokes or any of the else in between.
Stephen, that day, my face did the same thing it did when I found out that my girlfriend didn't see me still on. I don't know how to handle that. I was like, I don't. And she didn't apologize. It was just, oh yeah, you did tell me. What do you want? You want to watch something? Like,
she had to have been doing some sort of mind game on you or something. There's no way that's not the case. Like,
yeah.
How you would forget. And I know how you tell a story. It's the same way I tell a story. There's no way you're forgetting that. We give you love. We give you everything you need, okay? There's hand motions. There's characters, fictional characters involved, okay? But seriously, like, there's no way you forget a story, which, by the way, I don't think you've ever told me that story. I'm not being her either. I think it's the first time I've ever heard that story.
Funny. Yeah.
I've heard plenty of ex stories. I mean, I've been there for most of your exes now, but I remember plenty of stories of the ex with the poor lobster, like those types of stories.
It was so wet, Stephen. There was so much water. Okay. Dear listener,
how do you ruin a lobster tail, man?
Hang on, I'll tell you. Dear listener, I don't think the stove was on. That's what I think. I swear to you, I ate
raw lobster before sushi was a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm a super hipster. No, so I when I was in high school, I was 17 at the time. I was dating this girl, and her mom invited us over to this man's house, with the man she was dating, and he was selling this lobster. He was like, you're gonna love it. It's gonna be so good. And he was selling it to us. And I like lobster. Lobster's pretty good. It's not my favorite.
Who doesn't like it? I love it. But,
yeah.
I mean, I think I like shrimp. I'm not gonna lie. A good shrimp is better than lobster in my book. I'm not saying
my book too. I'm a shrimp guy, like through and through. However, I like a good lobster. I don't like a lobster that's never been cooked. I don't like what he served up. I don't like this. I'm pretty sure that it's not its claws.
Guys, it's just the way the crab eat it and the sharks. It's like an authentic experience.
Okay, so but here's the thing. It wasn't just like, oh, what are you, a baby about raw food or something? No, here's it. Like, I had mashed potatoes, and I had green beans, and then I had a lobster on my plate. And there was a little bit of water underneath the lobster, and I was like, okay.
Wait, can I just chime in? I'm so sorry. I know, because we're not even getting to the meat and potatoes of the story, but
literally
green beans and potatoes with lobster tail.
I know.
Who chose those side dishes?
I know. But I agree. Okay. However, though, I'll tell you, I'm a huge potatoes guy. Like, I grew up.
I love potato. I mean, I'm Irish, man. I can eat potatoes in any form.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So for sure, I scalloped potatoes tonight. Lovely. Loved every second of it. But on this day, I was like, I don't know this man very well. At least there are potatoes. Is what I felt. Is what I felt in my heart of hearts. I felt at least there are potatoes. But here's the thing. A little bit of water underneath that, that lobster. Normal, no big deal. You take something out of a pot. If you're not careful, you don't shake it off a bit. A little bit of water on there. I cannot imagine what this man's underwear looks like. You know what it's like. Okay, so.
Oh, the mess.
The unbelievable mess of this man. So I take this lobster and I just barely crack it open. And as I do this, I need an arc for my potatoes. There's a torrential 40 days of flooding from this lobster. It's just all the water comes out. And I'm looking, so my immediate thought was, can't eat those potatoes, right? Like, potatoes are no more, they're gone. So I was like, at least I hope this lobster's good. And as I look at the lobster, I see that it's just gray matter. It's just a brain in there. There's nothing. It's barely goo. Like, it was not cooked. I don't know. He must have hated me. I'd never met this man. He hated me.
Oven must not have been on or anything.
I don't think he cooked. Because
I bet, here's the thing. Typically when people don't if they're not usually when you cook lobster, you broil it, you just turn the broiler on.
Yeah.
I bet money he thought the broiler was on, so he had the shells and then he put them in there and the broiler wasn't on because the broiler, it lights up the stove differently. Yeah. So maybe he just assumed but still you look at the shell, you see the gross gray matter in there and you don't cook it after this.
Oh, it was crazy. It was insane. But yeah, so I've definitely had some issues with relationships and communication and people just doing stuff like that. What was that?
They ate that lobster too, didn't they?
They sat around eating it like it was just amazing. And
it was the best meal they've ever had.
From Boston, they were from New England. They were like you'd imagine they would know. To this day, the way that relationship ended was crazy, and it that was.
Oh man, she went off the deep end. I mean, it was like a cute relationship, and then it just got crazy fast.
So I had a weird relationship, and she ended up just pulling a full 180 in a way that was just really strange. But so peculiar. I'll tell you, because I know that some people will hear that and they're gonna be like, "Oh, you were probably just some douchey guy in high school, and now you want to make your girlfriend look bad." Not the case. I'll tell you. She went from someone who was interested in art and like punk rock and similar movies I like. She didn't do any drugs. She was just my sort of person at the time, for sure. We just listened to Bright Eyes, hung out at Starbucks, all kinds of stuff. She started using a fake Irish accent, started doing a bunch of drugs. I'm not gonna ever name her, so I think it's okay. But it just it was such a weird transition, and I don't know. Maybe I guess that was who she really was. I don't know what her full moon was that brought that transformation about. But
people that change their accent though.
That is, yeah.
How do they do that? What's the conversation they have with themselves before they decide to do that? And are they because for me, I feel like you and I both are very similar. We're very Costanza-like people. We're self-analyzing. We're focusing on every little piece of information.
Super neurotic, yeah.
Very Larry David. And do people that just do that they don't have those conversations with themselves? They just look in the mirror you know what? I can be Irish and everyone's going to accept it. La-di-da-di-da. And they just walk away and then that's it?
I don't know, Steven. I think it's kind of interesting because in the Kevin Smith way, what we were talking about Kevin Smith earlier, how he just kind of crafted this persona and that's who he became. Mm-hmm. In a way, that's all we're all doing all the time. But I don't know. I feel like things like the accent are strangely inexcusable as much as I want to think people can do whatever they want. I think you can move somewhere and
do that and be crazy enough to change who you are as a person, whatever, if you want to do that.
I think that's fine. I think you can have, make associations and like attach things to yourself and love things enough that it changes you as a person. But as far as voices are concerned, I think I think language is one thing, but accents, unless you're around someone who's using those accents, if to just say, I'm going to speak like this now. Hi, this is me. Welcome to We Have Issues. Hi, what's going on? This is just what I sound like now. You can't be offended or upset. It's just who I am. Like, I can't, if I did that, everyone would just be like, well, he's probably from somewhere in New Zealand or South Africa, or probably neither, but he's seen enough movies from those places too.
His accent's kind of jumping back and forth, so I'm pretty sure it's fake, but I don't know him well enough to call him on it. So.
Yeah. I mean, you have known me through most of my relationships in my life, which is really funny if you think about it.
I've been there.
Lots of tangents in this one, lots of random stuff. I like it though. I think people will hopefully be along for some of that ride and join us. If you want to hear us talk about anything, or if you have questions for us, feel free to ask. We will talk.
Comment them. We would love that. By the way, I just want to take this time right now and say thank you. Like, we have over 100 views on all 3 of our videos.
It's pretty incredible. I'm really happy about that.
51 subs now? Is that what we're up to?
55.
55?
Yeah, 55.
That's awesome. Like, thank every single one of you so very much.
I think everyone so much. I didn't expect it to grow to 100 views per video this quickly. I know 100 doesn't sound like a lot to people who use YouTube and stuff, but we're not those people. We're just people who hang out together. And so it seems really cool that anyone's willing to join us along for this ride, especially so early. I think, I always say, like, in our private conversations with like my conversations with Steven, I'm really hopeful that as we get the comic going more and you see more progress, people will jump on board to see, how we do, or hopefully people will root for us. That's what I really hope for, is that people root for us and see that they can also make something if they just try to dedicate whatever little Parmesan crumbles they have in their life to doing something that they want to do.
If you guys like an underdog story, just know that there's 2 other guys that are like really good at comic making and are really good at podcasting, and they're doing so much better than us. But if you just root for us, we'll do better than them somehow, and we'll win, and the movie will end well forever.
To keep us motivated, we need to know that there are 2 people who are better than us at comic books and better than us at podcasting, but they're not doing it as consistently and as much as we're trying to do it. They're not holding themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually learned that James Gunn, who is like directing all the superhero movies now, but like Guardians of the Galaxy, amazing screenwriter. He was interviewed for Troma because he wrote Romeo and Juliet. That was one of his first screenplays. But he was interviewed by Lloyd Kaufman, and he basically said when he sits down to write, he imagines that there's another person in the world writing the same exact thing that he's writing. So he has to write it faster and better, as fast as he can.
I mean, it's pretty accurate. How many of your own ideas have basically been lost within months of you thinking of it and then just doing nothing with it, and then it's showing up?
Of course. That's why. So I think, we have to do it now. We have to do it as much as we can, just like anyone else. Do what we can where we are with what we have, which is Parmesan crumbles, and we're going to crap out. So speaking of that, so what's next for this week?
So I'm imagining you'll be able to ship me off maybe a page 1.
Yep, that's mine. Awesome. I'm going to try for 2 pages at least.
Ooh.
Like fully written 2 pages.
Do you want my head to explode? No,
but I just mean from my end. But like for you, I want to try to get at least the first page so you can get started, and then I can just run through the thumbnail.
That way the flow starts, basically.
Yep. Yeah, because I think we're going to create a good assembly line system of, the comic after that, and it's going to be pretty cool.
Do you want to do like more of like a rough draft of the whole issue before we commit to a page?
Yeah, we can do that if you want. Yeah.
Just in case. So that pad should come in tomorrow. So then what I'll do, especially since we probably won't get anything penciled this week beyond that, I'll just like go crazy on that cover.
Yeah.
Pikachu!
Hey, back up.
That's an awesome Pikachu, Bubba. Oh man, that's a big Pikachu. Wait.
Good night.
Say good night.
Good night.
Okay. Bye.
Good night, Atlas.
Go to bed. I love you.
I love you too.
He has 99 issues, but bedtime ain't one.
If you're having sleep problems, like that for you, son.
So anyway, so we know what we're gonna do next week. So this week I'm going to get you at least one page so you can start, or at least so you can send the rough back to me.
Of what I'm thinking.
Of what you're thinking, yes. So we're gonna get that done, and then we're gonna post it up in our next episode for sure. But this episode we have a couple of things to show that we would have already showed right here. Otherwise, please subscribe and share and like and tell your friends.
We love it.
And again, we are so thankful to all of you. We love you.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really neat of anyone to listen to this and hang out with us for a little bit.
Even if it's only for 30 seconds, we're cool with that.
Yeah, you get to hang out with Steven for 30 seconds, especially when I was gone just now.
Yeah. I did like a Garth thing in Wayne's World where he's like, when Garth takes the camera.
All right. So I was just saying really quickly. So it's really cool to be in a new relationship with someone who, for like the first 20 years of her life, sorry, there's a bug in here, but for the first 20 years of her life, she didn't really watch any movies or anything. Yeah, not for the most part, she didn't. She has her own reasons that I don't know if I should talk about, but anyway, thankfully, thankfully, she's very interested in watching things now, and she happens to really, I mean, that's one of the first things we bonded over was we have a mutual appreciation for certain TV shows, or for certain genres. She really likes sci-fi and horror, and
which is always fun. I mean,
yeah, and then and she's also willing to watch the more like pretentious, heady, philosophical, silly movies that I also enjoy, and so it's really cool. And that's a very important spectrum for me. That's why I have Ash and Batman. It's I love the like sincere to silly spectrum, and she is appreciative of that. At least like she's willing to watch those movies and enjoy them, and that's really cool. So I've been able to revisit things like that because of her, which is neat. But then choosing which things to revisit becomes the new, issue. So, but anyway.
Wayne's World 1 is still it's super classic. 2 is okay, but 1 holds up completely.
Oh yeah, I mean, anytime anyone in my entire life since seeing that movie has ever offered me something that just doesn't make any sense, it's always just like I don't own a computer, let alone
many computers that would necessitate an entire desk.
Yeah, so,
insert gun rack.
Oh, I had one more thing I want to talk to you about before we leave. Just very quick.
Okay.
So I'm not going to talk about it this week, but I do want to show you. So I got this from a subreddit called Comic Book Collabs, and it's basically like someone was selling this. So basically, it's a subreddit in which people meet on the subreddit and work together. So artists and writers come together, kind of like us, and they come together and they make stuff. Hopefully it goes well, and then they try to create Kickstarters, sell it, whatever. That just arrived in the mail today, so I want to read it and talk about it. And I was going to ask, I thought it would be cool to try to give shine some light on some other people who are trying to do what we do also.
Awesome.
Who don't have podcasts. So so I just previously in my own life, I just happen to have supported a bunch of these Kickstarters. So all these comics down here are all from Kickstarter. And a lot of them are still ongoing series that are published through Kickstarter or Indiegogo. So I just want to have like a 5-minute or like 2-minute, whatever, just like a quick thing to talk about these comics. Like
an appreciation segment.
Yeah, it's like an appreciation thing, just to say like, hey, we're not the only ones doing this. And if you have a comic out there that you want us to look at or read, send us a link and let us know. And that's something that we can totally do in the future.
Let's network.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, why not? What else are we doing if we're not trying? I think, obviously we're trying to get our own book done, but it's also nice to try to create a community and inspire people and try to feel inspired ourselves from that community and just keep that kind of energy going, because otherwise it's dark out there.
So dark.
Anyway, so I just want to say, and thank you again for watching. Please subscribe and tell your friends if you have anyone who's interested, or if you have any grandparents who are willing to just hit subscribe without knowing what they're subscribing to.
Ooh, what's this, little Johnny?
Ooh.
I have a feeling if we ever move on to merch, it's gonna be the first piece of merch. It's gonna be a shirt that says "Get your grandparents."
So next week, I'm gonna write the first page. I'm gonna hand it over to you. And then it'll be up to you to whenever you get it back to me. And this time you're just going to keep going on the cover, right?
Yeah, so I think I'm just going to really color the cover.
The next time I do this, it's going to be almost finished or just beautiful in some way. Hopefully. Oh, that right there. Okay. All right, dude. So I think this was pretty good. What do you think?
Yeah, it's good.
Was there anything we didn't talk about that you wanted to talk about?
No, I think we covered it.
We got it?
We got it.
Anyway, we're going on too long. I'm probably going to end up cutting most of this out. So
yeah, this is probably not even going to make the cut at all.
I love you, Steven. You're the best.
I love you too. Have a good night, buddy. I'll catch you soon. What I was saying. Dragon Ball Z. One day I'll show you my man cave. It's not really a man cave. It's more of like a nerd cave, actually. As you can see, I was grabbing like random Pokemon, Mega Man figures from my shelves above my computers. I have like a Zelda shrine over there. I have like a Deadpool thing over here. McCree from Overwatch.
Okay.